Hey, it's Kenny K here again, and I'm here with another review, a juicy one. Not a horror movie. Oh no, not a horror movie, but a John Carpenter movie, and that's the reason why I'm doing this because I love John Carpenter and he's my favorite director. Bam. He made Halloween happen. He made Thing happen. He made The Fog happen. He made The Mouth of Madness happen. The Prince of Darkness, and um, the I did the review on Assault on Precinct 13 because I never saw that movie, and it's sacrilege if you never saw that one. It's an action movie. It had its charms, but there were also things that I disliked about it. It's a one-time watch. But another one is Big Trouble in Little China, which I regularly watch from 1986. It gets 7.2 on IMDb, which isn't bad, and it gets 7.5 from me, which is close with the IMDb. Directed by John Carpenter. Basically, this movie bombed like hell when it came out. It's weird. All the John Carpenter movies, except Halloween, The Fog, The Thing, uh, this one, all these movies that he came out bombed. They bombed. This director was ahead of his time. Ahead of yeah, this John Carpenter was ahead of the time. Siskel and Ebert were the Siskel and Ebert, I guess, were those stupid fuckheads. I mean, I call them the fuckheads. You got the tall one. I'm not sure if that's Siskel. I think that's Siskel. He was kinda open-minded, but then Ebert, the smaller one, the pudgy one with the glasses. Jesus, the asshole couldn't think out in the wider box. He called a thing an abomination. He called everything John Carpenter made, all horror movies, abominations, basically. Um, and back then, these were the two guys. These were the reviewers. Okay, you had Fangoria. Luckily, Fangoria was pro Carpenter, and these movies eventually became cult movies and has all of these movies have a big following, and a lot of people say John Carpenter is in their at least top five directors. It's horror fans. He did a few non-horrors like Assault on Precinct 13. This one, although it had a few horror elements in this one, but it's not big. And someone's watching me. It's more of a thriller, suspense, but it does get kind of creepy at moments. And it was straight to TV movie, but I'm saying it was a great movie. It was a great movie. So you got a lot of great actors. I mean, you've got Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell and John Carpenter are great friends. Great friends. I mean, he did. That's one that I won't review as I'm not. I saw the movie and I really didn't like it. Is Escape from New York, and it did Escape from LA, which really bombed and still bombs. It's one of the worst. It's with the Ghost of Mars and then the Ward. He kind of basically, some people say Ward was a cash grab. It could be because he was a lot. John Carpenter was a guy about this, but he also wanted the creative control, and he didn't like Hollywood anymore, and the hypocrisy and the bureaucracy and all the shit that came with it, and that he didn't have the creative control anymore, and that he became a director for hire. These movies were made by him, and he always wanted to make a western, and this movie he said is his western, but in with Asian bad guys. So Kurt Russell as Jack Burton. Burton is he's a trucker. The the Hogway Express or something that he calls us, is constantly talking to the yeah the mic, what is it called, a CBS radio, saying if some guy, big guy, comes at you and takes you by the neck and he says, "Did you pay your dues?" Old Jack Burton would say, "Yes, sir, it's in the mail."
So you just stare that big sucker right back in the eye, and you remember what old Jack Burton always says at a time like that. Have you paid? And I done everything. But I do know it's a pretty amazing planet we live on here. And a man would have to be some kind of fool to think we're all alone in this universe.
Got Kim Cattrall as Gracie Law, the attorney. She's an attorney for immigrants and things like that. You got a friend of her, Margot, who is a journalist. Dennis Dunn from Prince of Darkness. I hated him in Prince of Darkness. I love him in this one because actually Dennis Dunn is the main player of the movie. It's not Kurt Russell. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. Just first, the actors: Victor Wong, Ek Chen, and Dennis Dunn plays Wang Chi. With his big Wang. Sorry, I had to get it. I had to get out of my system. Wang Chi, Ek Chen, and then you have the bad guys. David Lopan. He has these three demigods that basically work for him. It's called Thunder. He's the muscular one. You've got Rain. He's the guy who basically has a sword and he can jump really high. And then you've got Lightning, and basically he's basically the embodiment of Mortal Kombat's Raiden. You know.
We got a problem.
He's and with the big hats, you know, the bamboo hats, the Raiden. I mean, they had to take the inspiration for Raiden. He's a thunder god. He has that hat, not so big, but he has that Chinese, Vietnamese hat. I'm not sure, the Asian, you know, the Asian bamboo hats. And you got Eddie. He's he works in the restaurant of Wang's restaurant. Ek Chen is a tourist bus driver, but he's also he's a sorcerer basically, but a good one. He believes in Chinese black magic, where Lopan believes in the dark side of black magic, Chinese black magic it is. And you got Mao Ying. Sorry, these names. I'm just gonna keep it simple. Mao Ying.
Mao Ying.
That Dennis Dunn's character Wang was gonna pick up. He basically was friends with her when they were kids, and they fell in love, but she didn't have a visa, and eventually he scraped everything together to get her back from Singapore to the US. Now, personally, Mao Ying doesn't look Asian at all. I mean, I asked my wife, "Do you think that's an Asian?" I'm not a racist at all, but shouldn't Asian, most and especially Chinese or from Singapore, that area, they have more the squinty eyes, right? She looked like a basic Americana. I mean, American woman. I mean, maybe she could pass for a Mexican Latina, And my wife said, I think maybe a combination of a Chinese woman and a Hawaiian, Hawaiian woman. I said, no, no, no. But in any case, she is the girlfriend, and he's gonna marry. She's gonna marry Wang. Now the thing is, Kurt Russell was actually the buffoon in the movie, and in the poster you see Kurt Russell standing above everybody with his machine gun and his blade that he has in his boots, and he has that tank top like this, and he's pretty muscular actually in this movie, but he looks like the guy. He has the mullet. He looks like the 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 guy everybody looks up at, and everybody does, but he's a buffoon. He's an idiot. Everything he does is he's completely out of place in this movie. Completely. You put a bunch of you've got these yellow turbans and the red turbans, and the yellows are the good guys and the red turbans are the bad guys. But eventually there's this standoff between the yellows during a one of their leaders died. They were killed. The red turbans, and then these thunder gods come and they start to fight with the yellows and the reds, and if the reds didn't follow them they would die too, so they work for Lo Pan, and then Lo Pan is standing there in his original form. I mean his when he was he's sort of a god, or and Kurt Russell drives him over, but Kurt Russell looks at him, he takes a look, and then he sees Lo Pan coming from behind the truck, and he's using this eyes, making this sound. That there's this eye, like those kind of things are a little bit horrifying. You know, a beam comes out, and he's temporarily blinded. Eventually, they run away, and eventually, he had to leave his truck behind. But then, before this all happened, they went to the airport to get Mao Ying, and it's there where Jack Burton sees Kim Cattrall, and he sees, I think, oh, what have we got there? And then he, with his cap on, he's going to Kim Cattrall, and he said, "Hey, can I ask you something?" And always with he's like super cool. She's, "No, you can't." "Why not?" "Stand above my line. It's Miller time."
Can I ask you a serious question?
Absolutely not.
Time. Well, then would you ever consider just jumping right into
Sure, but never with a person in your condition.
Yeah, and he's trying to, then he's looking away, and then he looks back, and she's gone, and looks at an old lady, and it's like, okay. But he gets pushed by these young gang members, and they're basically there to kidnap the woman where Gracie Law was waiting for, to sell as a slave to the White Tigers. And the White Tigers are basically this prostitute ring, you know, slavery like this, you know, they against their will basically, but they have to. Now in the entire attempt, Kim Cattrall, Gracie Law, can grab the girl that they wanted to take, but they take Mao Ying instead. Put them in the car. They start to fight. Jack Burton starts to fight with these guys, but they take this silhouette knife, and they start to, and he's like, oh, and then he gets, he falls over, and he's, like I said, he's a buffoon. And there's yeah, I'm not gonna say every moment because, and they actually made him look cooler by adding the first scene is basically, I believe, a lawyer that wants to represent Egg Chen for what has happened. He said, well, green lightning came out of the sky, and then we've got Jack Burton, and then he says, leave Jack Burton alone. He owes us a grand debt of gratitude and bravery. So they kind of wanted to make Jack Burton look like a more a integral character in the story, but he isn't. He isn't. It's done, and he's the guy. He never did karate. He did karate lessons, but he didn't have a black belt or something, but he knew a few moves. They said just do some moves. The camera angles will make it cool, and he's doing this, and then he's fighting. I mean, he knows his way with karate, right, and self-defense. But Kurt Russell, he doesn't. There's this. So they added that scene with the lawyer just to make him look cooler. Yeah, to make him. Yeah, because after watching the movie, they said, Kurt Russell is basically, what the hell did we do with him? So you have to understand. Look at this picture. You've got 7 yellow Tolbert, they got these bandana ninjas that work for Egg-chan, and then he's done. They're all in gear with knives and this, and then you've got a Jack Burton with a machine gun and a white shirt like this with Malibu on it, and he's standing there with his boots and his jeans pants that are way too tight. You see his bulge and his ass, and he's standing there, and they're constantly saying, "You're not afraid, are you?" Me, you're talking to Jack Burton, and then when nobody's looking, he's like, "Oh shit." I mean, there's a moment when even when they wanna go to Lo Pan's wedding ceremony because they took Mao Ying from the White Tigers, and Kurt Russell. That's also a funny moment. He went in as a potential client, to basically invade. I mean, be a spy and look at it and see where Mao Ying is. And he eventually says, "I would like a girl with green eyes." And then, eventually the lady from the White Tigers who hears this, and he says, "The price is no problem." And she goes to take a look on Mao Ying, but then this green thunder happens above above this building, and the thunder, I believe, lightning comes in, and he blows basically the lady pimp away, and then takes Mao Ying with him because David Lo Pan needs a girl with green eyes. That's basically the point, to become flesh again, because he wants to become flesh again and young again, so he has his full powers again, because now he can't get out, he can't touch people, his powers are weakened, and so on and so on. But then you've got Kurt Russell coming towards one of these, so we've got all these gods, and he takes one of those hats. He tips one of those hats, and he clocks him one time, and he's like, "Okay." Then he says, "Hi." he gets just one kick, and he flies away. I mean, he's constantly being fucked over by these ninjas, and and Kim Cattrall also. I mean, she comes in the at so you've got so like I said, they before Kim Cattrall, they're going through this underground tunnel with Egg Shen and his ninjas and Jack Burton, and this big ass creature takes one of the ninjas, and then Egg Shen throws like this bomb, this medicine made bomb, and you will not come out anymore, he says. And then Jack Burton says, "What's that? What will not come out anymore? What, Egg? What?" He's completely saying, "What the fuck? What the fuck did I get into?" And he said, "I don't want it," because he went into it for his truck. Because when his truck, he leaves his truck, these punkers, like I said, from the airport who took Mao Ying, but they also work for the Red Tulbans, and of course for Lo Pan. His truck is basically held in a warehouse of Lo Pan's, and he of course it is calling in this wardrobe, this female this female shower wardrobe, and he's calling his Chinese female wardrobe, and because his clothes has to be dry. He only has the white top and these jeans, and that's it. And he's eventually calling with his insurance agency, and he said, "Well, what the hell? I paid him 6 G's a year."
China is
What?
here. I don't even know what the
Ah,
hell
I don't
that
hear
means.
you.
All I know is
Yeah.
this Lo Pan character comes out of thin air in the middle of
And
a
he said,
goddamn alley
"Well,
while his
no,
buddies
it
are
was
flying
normal.
around on
It
wires,
was-
cutting
I
everybody to
ran
shreds,
to a
and he
fucking
just
man,
stands there
and he's-
waiting for me to drive
What?
my truck straight
No,
through him
what?
with light coming out of his mouth.
God damn it. Phones, and your phone's dead. It's like he's constantly, you know. And then Kim Cattrall out of nowhere. So they're in the restaurant in a private area, and this guy Eddie comes in, and he works in the restaurant as the maitre d'. It's someone who, I believe it's somebody who brings you to your table and says hello and good evening, ma'am and sir, and this and that. Can I take your coat? Eh? But then Gracie Law comes in, and she does like this in raincoat, and they all whoa, and she says, "And no panic, it's me, Gracie Law."
What are you doing
It's
here?
like Superman
panic, it's
comes
only
in,
me,
right?
Gracie Law.
Like a superhero, Gracie Law. I mean, every character in this movie, except Dennis Dunn and Victor Wong, they are the people basically. You could make this movie without Kurt Russell and without Kim Cattrall. They totally don't fit in this movie, but it works somehow. It works, but Kurt Russell is such a buffoon. He can't fight. I mean, he can fight, but he's no match against the let's say the standard Red Tulban ninja. He can't kick their ass. They're gonna kick his ass. He takes a machine gun, and he has that knife, which clearly you can see is a fake knife because he's regularly, crawling through tunnels and puts that knife. It's a double-bladed knife which he's sharpening at some point, and he puts it in his mouth. If you put a blade like that, double-bladed, double sides, in your mouth, you basically cut your own mouth, right? And you could see it was really thick and it was fake. So, but then there's a moment when he says, "Follow the leader," and he's, everybody, when they try to get Mao Ying out, There's this also this super funny moment between him and Lopan. The Lopan that exists is basically an old frail man, and he wants to become, like I said, young again, and he can transform in that young self again, but he can't touch things, and his powers aren't there anymore. His sorcerer powers are there's still a little bit like he can, like he's when he came out, and basically got ran over, and with that those laser eyes and coming out of his mouth. But Jack Byrne is sitting there. Okay, so you're David Lopan. You're Lopan. The guy that I drew over was like 9 feet long. You're not here to think, Jack Burton. But hey, I'm here, right? And I want my truck back. And Mao Ying, we want his wife to be too. And he's saying, "Oh no. I want this girl. She has green eyes. Very, very, very rare. I want her. And he says, "Oh, hey,
Broad to fit the bill.
David."
Come on,
He
Dave.
says,
You must be doing
Kurt
something
Russell,
seriously wrong.
beggars
That
can be
happened. That has to
choosers.
be
I
sure.
mean, if you lived like 2,000 years, you're good. Maybe you're not, doing it the right way, or you should be in a mental ward." It's like he's constantly challenging him, and then Lopan, as an old man, he's kind of funny. He's like, "Oh yes, you, Jack Burton, I will skin you alive." Egg. And Wang, I think he belongs in a mental world. It's like that. So it's the entire. Then they get out. They rescue all these women that were taken from the White Tiger. All these prostitutes, basically, but they're slaves, of course. They can't do anything about it. And now they rescue them. And Jack says at some point, "Follow the leader." And then he goes to this door that was they went through in the beginning, because when they entered the compound, they go under the basically under the illusion that they're basically the phone company, somebody from the phone company, and they come to repair it, and Jack Burton and then Wang is going in. "Oh, we're from the phone company. Whoa, it's raining like hell outside." And Jack Burton has this phone in his hand. We're gonna fix your phone. And Wang is talking Chinese against these two security guards. And then, "Oh yeah, your phone will be in top order when we repair it. Okay, here's the phone." And it just has a phone, like this old ass phone in his hand, and they go, under the fact that they're phone repairmen or whatever. It's just so crazy. It's just really, really, it's funny. But I remember that this movie was when I watched it as a kid, I liked it, but super, super. And that was the flaw of the movie, super confused. You've got yellow turbans. Okay, you got the Egg Chan saying to his lawyer, "Oh, I believe in magic, in Chinese black magic. Oh, you want to see?" And then it does this, and then electricity comes out, and that's just the beginning. It always starts small.
That's how it always begins.
Only small, and then it becomes big. And then his lawyer's like, "Whoa!" And then it starts with this street gang, basically kidnapping Mao Ying, and then you've got the White Tigers, and then you've got the yellow turbans, and then Wang says these are good guys. Because Wang was, I think he was one of those yellow turbans because they do this sign, and Wang knows this sign like this, huh, and they do it, huh, huh, like that, like 3 or 4. And Wang at some point when they go, like I said, in the underground area, it's like they call it the forest under the ground, or the black forest under the ground. Yeah, and you've got that creature, like I said, coming out of the wall, and they survived it. And there are a few of these ninjas, and they do this and Wang immediately does this, that sign towards them. So also after the big fight basically happens, Wang does that sign multiple times, and it's so I guess he was a yellow turban. So it's a yellow turban, red turbans, these gods that come out of the sky, and these 3 men. Then Lo Pan, then Chinese, they Gracie Law. I mean, they through, and every time you got this exposition that has to be told, like Margot, like an example. So after Kurt Russell went in as a spy, as a client, so to say, but looking for Mao Ying, of course, hoping to get Mao Ying as the client because he wanted green eyes, and a girl with green eyes. After that entire debacle happens, when the thunder lightning takes Mao Ying, and then those 2 other gods, and they kick Jack Burton away, and eventually Jack is pulled in his chair, in his relaxed chair, in Kim Cattrall's house with Wang and Eddie, I believe, and then Margot comes in, and Margot, who's that? Who's Margot? And then, I kind of feel left outside of this. I've kind of feel left outside. I mean, and then Kim Cattrall says, Gracie Law, she says, yeah, you are, and you should be. Oh. You're teasing me? Because that's asking for more. Get a life, she says. That's okay. Eventually, they say there's this constant explanation. So we have to go to David Lo Pan's warehouse. The warehouse that's so dangerous and so guarded that nobody can get in. And then this exposition. Then Gracie Law, exposition, constantly telling. You get all this exposition. Then Wang and Jack are in, like I said, the phone company guys. They're in, and he's telling about the gods, and then then this gods, and constant exposition about who is. Oh, these are the yellow turbans. They're good guys. They're basically going for this. It's a funeral, and and they're it's not a celebration, but like they're going through the streets, and they have this big picture on the coffin, and then these red turbans, and then Wang. Do these guys have enemies like reddish turbans? Yeah, they're called I don't know what they're called, and these guys have them machetes, and then eventually there's this guy from Samurai Cop. There's the So Bad It's Good movie, ripoff on Lethal Weapon. Basically, this Chinese guy, he has revolvers, gold revolvers. So they're ninjas, but they got guns. So they got like AK-47s, MP5s, and then when everything is shot out, their clips are out, they start to fight with like blades. But you would think this movie would be gorier, but these guys are just putting cleavers into somebody's fucking face, and and the only gory-esque kind of thing you see is that they break their arms and you see them going like this, but that's all. And then, you know, cleaver, machete, you know, a shot, flock in this guy, and you don't see any blood. So they kept it rather bloodless. Probably they wanted to keep PG, I guess. There is fuck you words in there and shit. So the language, bad language, but and there is violence, but the violence, like I said, is more like Marvel violence. You know what I mean? I don't see any blood. It's just fighting and cleaving somebody's face up with a cleaver like 10 times, but you don't see a drop of blood. This movie had the problem that they just throw everything towards you, and as a first time watcher you're gonna be confused as hell. And then when now I understand the movie, okay, now okay, yeah, those and those and those, but it was so confusing. And also the soundtrack, the sound, there's good music in there, but you have this, I think it's the music, the end song, and you can see this. I think it's John Carpenter was also a singer, right? He was in this band called the Coupe de Villes, and they're doing this MTV Trouble in Chinatown, Trouble in Little China. Oh yeah, and he's standing there with and then that sepia, you know, kind of 80s style. Oh, it's so kitschy. Oh man, this movie is kitsch, pure kitsch cheese. But it's actually a good movie. It's a fun movie. It's, if you gotta keep your head, you gotta listen, you can't afford to be typing on your cell phone. You gotta entrench your mind into this movie, and you're gonna have a really good time. Like I said, Kurt Russell is he's the star, he's the name in the movie, but he's not the main guy. He's the second guy. The main guy is actually Dennis Dunn, because he's doing all the fighting, and at the very end, a big fight, Dennis Dunn, they all take a potion from Egg Chan, and this potion makes you stronger and makes you more self-assured, and you know, and things like that, more braver. And then there's this moment that before he drinks it, it says, "May the liberty, the bird of
to
liberty,
the Army and Navy,
don't
and the
leave
battles
a
they have
feather."
won. As to America's colors, the colors that never run.
And then they go in
wings
this
of liberty
elevator,
never
and he
lose
says,
a
"I kind of feel good. Man, is it hot or is it only me?" I mean, he's standing there and nobody's saying goddamn thing. And then when they gonna fight, the first thing he does, everybody's yelling, "Yeah!" And they're going to fight those Red Tolban guys and those demigods. And then Egg Chan is there, and he's strong, of course. He's a sorcerer. He goes up against because Lo Pan, he becomes flesh. He succeeds in his journey, but then they're using these rings to, like, Lo Pan has a purple ring and Egg Chan has a green ring, the green beam against purple beam, and you see these two armored warriors fighting each other, and eventually it's a draw. They both fall back. So Egg Chan is really powerful, and like he can go toe to toe with Lo Pan. But like I said, they all yell. Jack Burton with his machine gun that he got from the beginning when they first got in, you know, the same machine gun. He shoots up, you know, and he gets these blocks on his head and he falls down, so that he's out for the entire fight. Then when he comes back, this, like I said, this armored guard with a sword comes towards him, and he's like, oh, gets his knife like this, and he punches him, and he gets that guy on him, and he can't get the guy off him. Then another guy falls on him, and he's like, oh, help me here. I'm flattened. So like, I mean, oh, he's just so funny. He's so funny. And eventually, now this is a spoiler, of course. Eventually, he becomes the hero. He kills Lo Pan, but in the most stupid way possible. So he saves, because Gracie Law, at some point when they first get out of the hideout, they save Gracie Law, because Gracie Law, Eddie, and Margot were also caught because they went in because it took too long, and they got, you know, the same kind of treatment like the others had, gas in a chamber, and they were out, you know. And Gracie Law gets kidnapped by this before everybody gets out except her, and she gets kidnapped by this thing that looks like a Sasquatch fucked Chewbacca. and then Lo Pan comes in and he sees another girl with green eyes. This is a sign. Oh, I can sacrifice you to the gods. And then she does like, oh, she's a fighter. I mean, it's great. It's great. But then he saves her and she kisses him then eventually, and he's got all that lipstick on his mouth, and he's there with, hey, Lo Pan, it's me, Jack Burton.
You know what old Jack Burton
You know,
always
Lo
says
Pan, when somebody
Who?
tells me something
Jack
I
Burton.
gotta do,
Me.
and I don't want to do it, I ain't gonna do it, right? And in the meantime, Wang is fighting Thunder, that bodybuilding god. He's really muscular, and he's like fighting him, and he's like with that lipstick on his mouth. Then eventually he takes his knife and throws it towards Lo Pan. He misses. Lo Pan takes the knife and he says, beautiful knife, and he throws it back towards him. He catches it because that's his only quality. And then he throws it back straight through his head, and he's dead, of course. And then he always says, it's on reflexes. He says that in that way because in the beginning they're playing this card game, and Wang says, I can basically cut this beer glass in two with this cleaver, and he does that and it flies away, and Jack picks it up, and again he says, it's all in the reflexes. So apparently he's got good reflexes. That's it. That's his only quality, actually. And he kills Lo Pan. So, and then Thunder starts to blow up like a balloon, and he's like he's like the Michelin Man, you know, like, and everybody gets out because he goes so big and fat that he explodes. Wang killed one of those gods. I think he killed the rain god, and then the thunder god gets killed by a lucky shot that somebody pushes a rock on his head, and he dies and gets buried in with the rubble, and eventually and then King Cottrell at the very end, Margot says, aren't you even gonna kiss her? No. No, sorry, babe. I'm a one-man army, and I'm on the road, a trucker, and I'm a guy who moved the pillars of earth with Wang. Also, the
See you,
pillars of earth.
Never can tell.
Okay. And we were the balls. Oh yeah, you really gotta watch this one. try to give it a shot. It's gonna be weird, but it's gonna be at the end. If you give it a shot and you know, don't be busy with something else because you're gonna get confused if you are, because it's a fun movie, it's a cool movie, it's kitschy, it's cheesy, it's the acting is good, everybody does what he does, but yeah, it's just a fun ride. It's a fun ride. It's basically one big, because there's no silent. I mean, there's no the pace is pretty. There's no slow pace in this movie. It's constantly going and going and going. You constantly have things coming towards them, so you're never bored. You're never bored. So there's constant, because they, I think, and that's why they give that long expositions, but they they do it so fast that okay, you're now, because you heard that, you're okay. That would be, if they filmed that, that would be the boring part, right? That would be the slow part of the movie. No, they just exposition it super fast, and okay, now we're up to speed. Let's get some new action. Let's get some action, and then again exposition. Blah, 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 get some action. So it's constantly, you're constantly thrown in these situations, and Jack Burton is thrown in these situations where he doesn't fit, but he's just, it just works in a way I can't explain. But if you see this movie, you're gonna think, okay, Jack Burton, was he the hero? But then he's done. I mean, his character Wang was kicking everybody's ass, and he was just standing there. Well, even when he wants to take his knife out of his boot, he flips it away, and then it's just like, okay. Like I said, he killed like 3 people in the entire movie, and then Wang killed like a dozen or something or more, even one of those gods. I mean, but okay, it's a great movie. It's not a horror movie, but the next one's gonna be a horror movie. Subscribe for some more fun, more laughing. Also, good movies are coming up. I wanted to do this not because actually, if I started out, I'm actually sad that I didn't do a Carpenter run, you know, do all the Carpenter movies, but it's a little bit too late for that, because I already did the thing. I did Someone's Watching Me. I did all those movies in the beginning phase of my channel. So okay, yeah, subscribe, let me grow a little. It's gonna stay free, so hit that subscribe button, maybe like it, give a commentary if you like it. See you next time. Bye.